Well, the Pac-12 has made it official. They are not going to expand. That leaves the Big 12 out in the cold. No 20-team merger, no 4-team life raft for the Big 12 headed off to the Pac-12. At least right now, there is a door cracked open because of the wording of the Pac-12 statement. We'll examine that coming up in this video. Plus, does this get the league unified and moving toward expansion themselves now? That's all coming up. If you have not subscribed, please do so. I am John Kurtz here on this channel. We talk college football every day. Right now, that means talking conference realignment every day. I've covered the Big 12 for 10 years, and I'm trying to give the league a voice right now at a time when it does not have much of one on the national scene. If you like and comment on the videos, that really helps me out as well, so please do so. Okay, here's the official statement from the Pac-12 that we got today. It says, following consultation with our presidents, chancellors, and athletic directors, the Pac-12 has made the decision to not pursue expansion of our membership at this time. The decision was made following extensive internal discussion and analysis and is based on the current competitive strength and cohesiveness of our 12 universities. It is also grounded in our confidence and in our ability as a conference to best support our student athletes to grow and to thrive both academically and athletically. So none of this should really be very surprising. Everybody in the industry continued to say throughout this week that it was most likely going to stay put at 12. We heard that from the Mercury News. We heard that from the guys from The Athletic. Basically, anybody who had a national platform was pushing us all this way. And this moved very quickly. The timeline, in fact, was expedited on this. It started out with that interview in the Las Vegas Review-Journal, which said in a few weeks there would be a decision on expansion. Then on Tuesday at the Alliance press conference, it was going to be by the end of the week, and then we get it dropped on Thursday early afternoon. So this really did get sped up. Now, there was an article that came out earlier today from the Mercury News, and a guy who covers the Pac-12 very intently said, hey, according to our research, Houston would actually be the best expansion candidate, not anybody from the Big 12. And if it were anybody from the Big 12, Kansas and TCU would be the two best options there, which was a very interesting take. But even that included the caveat, hey, expansion is not very likely. And a point the article made is one that I'm going to make once again here. Everybody will say this, and I know I sound like a broken record, but if you're wondering why does the Pac-12 not want to get into the state of Texas? Why does the Pac-12 not want to get into the Central Time Zone? Why are they not thinking bigger picture like that? I'm a broken record on this, but it all comes down to money, the monetary value that you can get out of schools from the Big 12, or if it's going to be Houston, BYU, whoever. The Pac-12 does not feel like these schools would add value on a per-team basis with their TV contract, which is coming up. Negotiations are expected to start within the next 18 months. I'll offer you this from Bruce Feldman, national college football reporter, in the aftermath of this decision. He says the feeling from power brokers connected to the Pac-12 is that any of the remaining Big 12 schools just do nothing from a ratings benefit to move the needle. The leftovers are seen primarily as meriting cable TV coverage, not network, which is a sizable financial distinction. They wouldn't add any significant value, but rather would only further water down the league while also being potentially different fits from the makeup of the Pac-12. So basically there, yes, you have it's money, and it's also, hey, we'd be taking in something that's a net negative, or at the very least, just a net neutral on the money front, and then we'd be expanding what we really see as our principles to bring in schools that don't fit culturally. That's the Pac-12's answer here. So I know it's frustrating to hear over and over again, don't shoot the messenger. That's just the reality. Now, there are some questions here, and if you're somebody that definitely sees the value in Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, if you're a Big 12 fan, you think your school would add legitimate value to the Pac-12. If you think this may wind up looking short-sighted on down the line 5 years from now, 10 years from now for the Pac-12, if they get blown up, if they get raided, you might be right. There might be an element of this that is short-sighted to the Pac-12, but that doesn't change what their reasoning is right now. Also, questions that are fair to ask. Will this change if another domino falls in realignment? The "at this time" was included in that statement. You would figure for a reason. They're not totally shutting the door on expansion forever, but it's at this time. So if something else happens, if the Big 12, if somebody does leave the Big 12 in the next 6 to 12 months, does that change what the Pac-12 wants to do? If the Pac-12 were to get raided, if USC left, does that change what they want to do? I mean, these are all scenarios that could, I think they're unlikely, but could play out and perhaps change the Pac-12's mind. But you have to keep in mind, the Pac-12 is going to be at the negotiating table for a new TV deal within the next 18 months. Look, I mean, that means you'd figure they would have to have a real solid set-in-stone decision at that point about expansion as to what they're going to do if they're going to be at the negotiating table on a TV contract. But I guess if you do want some hope, I'll leave you with this direct quote from the Mercury News. It says the Pac-12 is examining strategic options in advance of the momentous media rights negotiations. One of those options could be another look at expansion. So, look, don't show that article to the rest of the Big 12. That would be my advice. If we can just, John Wilner, who writes for the Mercury News, do not show that to the rest of the Big 12, because the real question now is, can you get the Big 12 presidents and ADs all on the same page, right, in light of Max Olson's article yesterday, to move forward with expansion? Because I think the idea for the Pac-12 doing this and doing it quicker than what they had originally intended was to say, look, we really don't think there's a lot of interest out there. Let's stop teasing the Big 12. Let's just get this out there right now so that the Big 12 can try to move forward. I know I scoffed at it, but the Alliance press conference did include multiple wordings and phrasings of, hey, we want the Big 12 to survive. We need them to survive. This would be perhaps the least that the Pac-12 can do. Give you a decision in the short term on expansion right now, which would be no. So, can now the Big 12 get on the same page? Max Olson's article detailed yesterday and the video that I showed you yesterday was all about, hey, there's a lot of dissension among the ranks on expansion because schools want to keep their options open, and they're leery of committing to the Big 12, whatever that form that may take on. They're leery of committing to it beyond the current grant of rights past 2025 because, again, of the money difference between being in a Power 4 conference now or being in whatever the Big 12 would be. And what I could add on to that is that I have been hearing KU and Oklahoma State are the two chief among those that right now are conflicted and wanting to keep their options open. So I don't really know that the Pac-12 news affects either of those schools that much. It seems like some of the buzz with like Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, they're thinking like maybe the SEC at some point would come along. Robert Allen from Oklahoma State told us that Oklahoma State's talked to all 4 leagues. We know where Kansas's eyes are. They're busy catcalling the Big Ten as much as they possibly can right now. So I don't know that this will really affect where they are at. But that's going to be the key question coming up next is can you actually focus everybody? And on the Kansas front, I'll just leave this here. John Wilner, who again writes for the Mercury News and covers the Pac-12 really, really well. He wrote this earlier today. Kansas meets the requirement as a member of the prestigious AAU. It works geographically and it has a powerful basketball brand. But that's not the attraction you might think, because football accounts for 80 cents of every media dollar spent on broadcast rights in college sports. Evaluating the Jayhawks, we couldn't get past the combo of an atrocious football program and the mid-sized media market. Kansas City is smaller than Salt Lake City. Economically, the Jayhawks are a reach for the conference. They don't carry enough media value to clearly increase revenue for existing members. That's a Pac-12 point of view. They're lowest on the totem pole in terms of Power 5 conferences that right now are whole. The Big Ten is second on the totem pole. If that's what the lowest on the totem pole thinks, what's second on the totem pole going to think? And a league in the Big Ten that can be much choosier because of the position that they're in. To me, it's just another reality check for Kansas and where they are at. But the task will be, can Bob Bowlesby or perhaps Oliver Luck, who's now involved here, get Kansas, Oklahoma State, and whoever else may be still having some delusions of grandeur with other conferences, can they get them to push in the same direction on expansion? Final thing that I will leave you with here on the video is Max Olson from The Athletic, who had this to say in the aftermath of the Pac-12's decision today. One key question going forward is whether Big 12 presidents and ADs will start getting serious about adding new members or whether their own expansion process must wait until after Texas and Oklahoma leave for the SEC. It's hard to know right now whether those schools will wait until 2025 as they've claimed or intended to make an early exit. So that's another big piece here. How can expansion work with Texas and OU still in the league? I've heard the thought that you could add 2 teams while Texas and Oklahoma are still there and then wait until they do leave and go get 2 more. We'll see if that process plays out. Again, it's going to take everybody being actually legitimately committed to it to make it happen. And I still think that's a very complicated process, but hopefully this news today from the Pac-12 is at least a nudge in that direction for everybody. All right, guys, again, subscribe to the channel if you have not. I talk college football every day here. I talk conference realignment right now every day on this channel. Please do subscribe, like, and comment on the video. All of that really helps me out. You can find the info in the description, but follow me on Twitter at JLKurtz if you want up-to-the-minute updates. And, guys, let me tell you, even on my birthday today, it was my birthday, and I'm still out here grinding, producing content for you. So if you'd like to wish me a happy birthday, you can certainly do that in the comments or on Twitter. You can follow me at John Kurtz Show on Instagram and TikTok as well. Please do that. I'm trying to get those going here soon. All right, that's going to do it for me. Thanks, guys. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.